Hello, my name's Wong. I'm a District 502 resident and a student at College of DuPage. In July 2013, I traveled with College of DuPage on a field studies program to Alaska and backpacked the Chilkoot Trail. Our journey started at Juneau. From there, we took an overnight ferry to Skateway. Then a short shuttle ride would take us north to Dyea, where our backpacking adventure began. From Dyea, we would backpack for 5 days and arrive at Lake Bennett in British Columbia, Canada. From Lake Bennett, we took a train and traveled via a historic railroad back to Skateway. On our final day, we boarded a ferry and returned to Juneau for our flight back to Chicago the next day. The Chilkoot Trail was named after a 33-mile ancient footpath that connects coastal region of southeast Alaska with interior Canada. At the height of Klondike Gold Rush, between 1897 and 1898, tens of thousands of gold prospectors flocked to this site, carrying with them a required 1 year's worth of supplies, and journeyed through this route to Canada's Yukon Territory. Today, this historic trade route is a recreational footpath co-managed by Parks Canada and the U.S. National Park Service. The Chilkoot Trail is Canada's largest national historic site and is often regarded as the largest outdoor museum. On our first day, we spent the morning exploring downtown Juneau, gathering supplies, making final preparations, and hiking a local trail. Since we will be spending 5 days backpacking in the wilderness, we planned for our trail meals and gathered necessary supplies, including stove fuel. We repackaged our food to reduce weight and waste, and then distributed among the 8-member crew. This is all part of planning ahead, which is the first of the 7 Leave No Trace principles. In the afternoon, we had ample time before the evening ferry ride to hike a local trail, which is about 12 miles from downtown Juneau. This trail led us to the majestic Mendenhall Glacier. This was my first time seeing a glacier up close. In the evening, we boarded a ferry. It would transport us north through Alaska's Inside Passage to Skateway. Inside the ferry, there was a hot shower and bunk beds in each room, and it was quite comfortable spending the night there. On day 2, our ferry arrived at Skateway early in the morning. We spent some time exploring this historic frontier town and picked up our trail permits. We enjoyed one of the guided walks. The ranger gave us interesting insights into the town's rich history and retraced key events of the Klondike Gold Rush. Since we would be traveling into Canada, we were required to present our passports when we picked up our trail permits. Later, we would need to use our passports again upon returning to Skateway. In the afternoon, we checked in our non-essential items into a hotel storage area and prepared our backpacks for the 5-day journey in the wilderness. A shuttle took us to Dyea, where we began our route. From the trailhead, we backpacked about 5 miles and set up camp at Finnegan's Point. On day 3, we backpacked a relatively short 3 miles to Canyon City Campground. Along the way, we passed a suspension bridge with the rushing Tire River beneath us. We also passed an abandoned steam boiler. It was used to power a tramway during the gold rush. The tramway could transport supplies a few miles north, but only for those prospectors who could afford the price. At Canyon City Campground, we met other backpackers who were traveling in the same direction. We would meet them again at other campgrounds during our time on the trail. We also met 2 artists from the Artists in Residence program. They engaged with visitors at the campsite and entertained us with music and storytelling. I really enjoyed their company. On day 4, we gradually gained altitude and backpacked a little over 5 miles to Sheep Camp. During the gold rush, the traffic at Chilkoot Pass could be so backed up that this was the last stop for Klondike stampeders to rest and to prepare for the ascent. In the evening, a ranger gathered all visitors and gave us important briefing for what to expect the next day. because next day would be our most challenging day. On day 5, we rose at the crack of dawn, ate breakfast, and broke camp. This day was our 8-mile day with steep ascent through the Chilkoot Pass and with intermittent walks over ice fields. We would walk past international border and continue the trail at the Canadian side. As we walked gradually above tree line, the scenery became increasingly wide and panoramic. It was quite a contrast from the dense forests we've seen the previous 2 days. The views were breathtaking. I could see snow-covered mountaintops in the distance, the valley floors far and wide, ice sheets with patches of pink algae on them, and I was surrounded by the sounds of wind, melting ice, cascading streams, and small animals chirping here and there. When I saw the Canadian flag, I knew I had summited the 3,500 feet pass. At first I was elated, but the long stretch of ice field that followed was equally challenging. Soon we would see a sign that read, "End of Avalanche Zone." That meant we finally left the ice fields behind and the trail would be more ice-free. At the end of this long day, we arrived at our campground, which was actually called Happy Camp. We think this is so named because the hardest part of the trail is now behind us, and everyone would be happy campers upon reaching this rest stop. On day 6, our hike was easier with more gradual elevation changes. It was still a long day. We backpacked about 8.5 miles. By the late afternoon, we arrived at our last campsite, Bear Loon Lake. Along the way, between Happy Camp and Bear Loon Lake, we passed more ruins and abandoned equipment from the past. We stopped at Lindman City Campground for trail lunch. Lake Lindman is beautiful and quiet. It is hard to imagine that at the height of the gold rush, there were over 4,000 people camped out along the shore. The number of tents were so numerous that the site was nicknamed Tent City. Bear Loon Lake was a pleasant campsite with ample room for tents and shelter for cooking and outdoor dining. It was a warm summer day, and the lake was so inviting. Some of us took a refreshing dip in the lake water. Day 7 was our last backpacking day with a short 3-mile hike to Lake Bennett. Along the way to Lake Bennett, we passed this old cabin. The view of Lake Bennett was truly stunning. The turquoise-colored lake reflects the sky and the surrounding mountains like a mirror. For Klondike stampeders, this will be the end of their footpath. Many will set sail on boats and journey onward to Dawson City or Whitehorse along the Yukon River. For us, we took a much easier way back to Skateway. The White Pass and Yukon Route Railroad began operation by December 1889. With that, the stampeders finally had an easier route to get to the gold rush site. Foot traffic on the Chilkoot Trail gradually dwindled and diminished by the end of 1899, leaving behind all those remnants for modern-day visitors to see. The views from the train ride were truly spectacular. We saw railroad bridges built with timber and steel, connecting deep gorges between mountain ridges. We could see distant waterfalls, forests, roadside flowers, and rivers along the way. This railroad was designated an International Historic Civil Engineering Landmark in 1994. This incredible honor really shows that the construction of this railroad must have been an engineering marvel of its time. Back in Skateway, we celebrated the completion of our backpacking adventure with hot meals and enjoyed a much-needed hot shower. Day 9 was our final full day in Alaska. In the morning, we took a short day hike near Skateway and had a good look at this busy port. One can see many cruise ships line the harbor. Then we hopped on a ferry and traveled south back to Juneau. When the ferry gradually pulled away from the port, we saw a humpback whale just a short distance away from us. It was quite an exciting sight to see. Unlike our previous ferry ride that was in the dark, today we had a good look at Alaska's Inside Passage. Along the way, we would see waterfalls, lighthouses, and distant glaciers. As we got closer to Juneau, we were treated with this beautiful sunset over the Inside Passage. It was a perfect end to an unforgettable journey. This backpacking experience inspired me to continue exploring the great outdoors, visiting historical places, and learning about the past and its connection to the present.